I'm on the other side of the screen from you, or I'm 2 meters away. We cannot touch physically, but your stories can touch me, you, others yet to hear them. I'm in Torbay, 20 miles of curved coast collecting people from here, there and everywhere. Stories blown in from the sea, arriving by train, walked in through woods and combes, and tumbling out of old cars on their last legs. Stories of escape, of flight, of struggle, and of the fight against the mighty. Stories that say, I can make my way. Stories that today in Torbay bring hope and possibility into the grasp of you and me, of them and they.
I love to do activities. I love to go horse riding. I love walking. I love swimming. I love my team who look after me. Yeah, that's about me.
We live in sheltered accommodation in Brixham, and we volunteer with Yes Brixham, and Brixham Does Care. We've lived here for more than 40 years.
I sailed into Brixham 15 years ago, and I've been here ever since. I'm approaching state retirement age. I was a sailor most of my life, so it's nice to be by the sea.
I'm disabled both with mental health problems and physicals. I love knitting and any kind of craft, and I love sci-fi. At one point, I wanted to become a funeral director, which was a bit random. I like listening to the shipping forecast and odd things like that. I've always been a very generous person to the point where I've been taken advantage of quite a lot.
I'm 62 in a couple of weeks' time. Yeah, I'm 5'4", about a stone overweight. I've been trying to lose it, but I just can't lose it. So I've just give up. It's the way I'm meant to be. I'm quite good fun. I love singing. I'm conscientious, and yeah, I'm generally well tolerated and well liked by people, I suppose.
5'9.5", according to my doctors. I'm 55 years old, and my life hasn't turned out the way I intended it to. When I left school, I never said, please can I train to become a caregiver? I wanted to be a train driver, if I'm honest.
I've lived in Torbay for 17 years. I was in a domestic violence situation in Exeter, and I was pregnant with my youngest son. So I've got put in a refuge in Paynton, and it's nice here. So I just stayed here.
I think Torbay is a beautiful place. You've got the beach, you've got loads of places to walk. I've been out exploring different places, and things like that. I think Torbay is a very, very enjoyable place in the summer. You can do lots of things. I mean, you've got the circus come down. You've got lots of festivals. Like I've been to a festival and I've had great fun there.
And there's lots of little music clubs, little venues, the edge, and all kinds of little things that make life so good. Painting clubs and all kinds of things. Especially, lots of people have moved in, and they're very welcoming to others. I love the weather. I'm disabled, so the warm weather makes a huge difference, yeah. And so the scenery's gorgeous. I've got a bit of dementia, so I forget very quickly.
We love living here because we've got the nature reserve at Berry Head. We have our friends. It's very community orientated with Brixham Does Care and the Edge, and there's lots to do, and it's really friendly. And our cats love going around the nature reserve with us. We have 10 of them. And we do have a lot of people that we know. And one of the things we find is we don't always remember people's names, but we know people from where we see them. Yeah, it's amazing. We probably know over 100 people.
I mean, how lucky are we? We can, we can wake up and you've only got to look outside, haven't you? You know, at the sea, the natural beauty of it. And also, it's quite close to, to Dartmoor. Yeah, I know Dartmoor's bleak and barren and stuff, but to me, that's beautiful. Here, you can be somewhere really beautiful within a matter of minutes.
It's that closeness I find. That community spirit in small places is more apparent in a small place than it is in a big place. Okay, since the pandemic, I actually love the way Torbay has responded to it. There's been a lot of good stuff going on. You know, a lot of people pulling together, a lot of people helping their neighbours out. Probably they didn't even know they had neighbours, probably because someone said to me, do I know my neighbours? I said, one of the things I learned up was when I was growing up, I'd always get to know your neighbours, always look out for your neighbours. So I know all the people that live around here and they all know me.
The waves project your feelings, yeah. So they one day they might be a bit low, one day they might be a bit happy, or they might be okay. And they always say with the sea you can see white horses. So you can see pictures in the sea of different things.
My husband, well, he's not my husband, but my partner had a stroke in 2013, and it left him with cognitive impairment and mobility issues. And although we can get around, he's not fully switched on with things because, you know, the portion of his brain that had the stroke was quite big. When we're in Birmingham, it's not a very great place to walk around, and he'd always wanted to live by the seaside, so we came to Paynton.
I mean, lockdown it's difficult, isn't it? It's a very difficult pandemic. It's scary. It is. That's why they're getting a vaccine.
And it's difficult because now I work from home and I live in a small flat which isn't particularly glamorous, and I live with someone who's got a cognitive impairment, so I have my work and then I have to, well, I have to tolerate. I have to tolerate because he isn't. I can't explain it really, but he's there and he depends on me a little bit too much because I'm there.
If my wife gets up during the night and she's not quite with it, she's asked me for a musical hot water bottle. Great, they haven't invented that yet, but as soon as it becomes available on eBay, I'll get it for you. She's gone shopping at 5 in the morning. She had a backpack on. She was ready. She had sticks in her hands and she was off. I said, there's only one problem. I said, the police will pick you up because if you go down to Tesco's, you'll be breaking and entering, darling.
I need some people who are going to stay, you know. And the funny thing is, well, it's not funny at all. It's all a bit sad. You've got friends and then they're not there. And you've got people you never see. And it's a very strange population, Torbay. I found, and I still do, I find it very, very lonely. We've been here 6 years and I think we've got 2 friends. In terms of having actual friends, we don't have any friends.
I've actually been quite lonely because I'm a very community person. I talk 10 to the dozen, and I've realized that because of the lockdown, how we don't see as many people, we realize just how sociable we have been.
I'd like to live abroad. I used to live abroad. Now they've stolen my right to live anywhere from the shores of Western Ireland to the Russian border with Brexit. I've had my door smashed in by racist people and all kinds. You can't, there's no freedom of expression.
I think I've tried to adjust. The thing I've learned is since I became a carer, my tolerance levels have increased and increased and increased. And you sort of like build up your tolerance levels to a point where it's unsustainable. Something's got to give. And sadly, in 2019, I found that, yeah, there is a breaking point.
We don't think we can help you. That's happened a few times in my life where they felt they couldn't provide support I need because it's a complex situation. And for years with my daughter being a single parent to a child with special needs, they couldn't offer me support there. And then they would say, well, we think because of your life, that's why you feel low. And it was like my situation was always too complicated and no one service could help. Because they couldn't help all of it, they wouldn't help any of it. And so I've struggled most of my life getting support.
May I cut in there? When Robert had depression and he was suicidal, he had attempts at suicide. He went to TalkWorks and they said, you're too bad for us to deal with. And then he went to the assessment behavioural unit at Torquay Hospital and it wasn't bad enough. He fell through the cracks.
So I've just toddled off because I'm not a very assertive person, and suppose you just trust people in these positions to know what they're talking about. So I just kind of thought, well, maybe they can't help me and maybe I'm beyond help.
You know, there's lots of little tiny groups all doing things, you know, little bits of feel good, well-being and mental health support, but it needs to be bigger. It needs to be a thing where, like, you know, come to Temperance Street, there's 6 or 7 mental health practitioners.
When I was really needing help, when I needed help, it was absolutely useless. And that is one of the big real issues of this era. We're not listened to. They just give you the runaround.
I love Torbay. We used to go to the zoo all the time. There's just so many like secret places that we would find, and just the beauty of the area. And when I moved away, that's what I miss, because even though I had all the hardship, that part of my life outside of my house was just, that was what I wanted.
And this counsellor I was talking to, she said to me, "You sound to me like you think that you're not deserving of having nice things." She says, "Why do you think that is?" And I've been thinking about it. I'm very good at the concrete, at the cognitive and getting it together, but I'm not very good at processing the emotional. No, not really.
Children, they've got such an amazing outlook on the world, and they're not sort of cluttered up with overthinking, and they've got such great imaginations. And I think it was kind of because from the age of 8 my childhood kind of ended.
I've heard counsellors dismiss us as if we're working class, poor, don't have cars, don't matter, or are unemployed.
When people say you're disabled, they think you're stupid, particularly when you go for PIP. It's so degrading when you're disabled, and you have to answer questions, and it makes you feel degraded. People with a disability aren't stupid. They still have ambition. They said my best skill was tea making.
The hills are obviously very difficult for me being disabled, but the biggest challenges are actually man-made.
My wife's PIP stopped. It took 41 weeks to get that reintroduced. By that point, we've used some of my daughter's savings money to make sure we don't go behind with the rent. If I could walk there, I'd walk to make sure I didn't spend too much money. And that stress for 41 weeks. We ended up being in court, and I thought 10 minutes in a courtroom and 41 weeks of faffing around was beyond what I thought was acceptable.
I had a physio here 2 weeks ago who asked me the most stupid questions. Why did I fall over trying to get in the bath? Because I'm an old lady and it's 2 feet high. And what's that thing in your bathroom? It's a bath mat. Well, remove that, you might fall over it. I'll slip on the bathroom floor instead. And he came out and he said, "What do you do when you can't have a shower or a bath?" He said, "You could have a wash in the wash basin." I said, "Well, fancy that. I mean, and he gets paid for this?"
All through my pregnancy, I had all these mental health problems, and I was absolutely terrified that I would destroy her. And when she was born and I held her for the first time, I just felt so much love.
The medical centre here, because of the pandemic, you've got to ring the doorbell. Tell the receptionist why you're here. I'm here to meet my wife. You have to go to reception. That receptionist sent me all over the building, even downstairs and out the back door. Thankfully, this little man had seen me outside getting flustered, so he let me back in the building. And I went straight to reception, and I just wanted to hit her. This idiot panicked me for no apparent reason. I could feel the blood around my temples pumping hard. It's something I don't like to do because I know if I lose my rag, things get broken. So I always try and keep the calm, placid exterior.
And you always get good days and bad days. When you get bad days, you're sad, and you get good days where you feel okay again. You wake up in a different frame of mind. I mean, lockdown it's difficult, isn't it?
And it's a very strange population, Torbay. I find it very, very lonely.
Because I'm a very community person, I talk 10 to the dozen.
I've heard counsellors dismiss us as if we're working class, poor, don't matter.
I find the whole process degrading.
The biggest challenges are actually man-made.
You sort of build up your tolerance levels to a point where something's got to give.
You sound to me like you think you're not deserving of having nice things. Why do you think that is?
I just kind of thought maybe they can't help me, and maybe I'm beyond help.
I was good at singing, and then I never did anything with it. My dad left home, my mum had a nervous breakdown, all at a very important time in my life. I was in a working man's club, funnily enough, and I was singing along to an actor on the stage, and it was a woman sitting next to me that was the wife of an agent, and she said to me, "Oh, you've got a really good voice."
We had this thing I made, which was a traffic light thing. And when it was green, everything's okay, nothing needs doing. When it's orange, I had a box and we had to pick something out of the box, like go for a walk or play a game or do a jigsaw and things like that would improve my mood. And then if it was on red, there was like a list of people she had to ring. She can't wake me up to ring 999. And so we had like a little plan that she knew. We found a video called Mum's Got a Dodgy Brain. It's like an animated thing, but children's voices talking about their experiences with a parent with a mental health problem.
And suddenly it dawned on me, I could be a carer. And because of my issues with authority, shall we say, I refused any kind of help to support me because I was worried about them judging me. I was worried about they're going to say, you're rubbish. And so as you go through, everything piles on top of another. You just get through it and you get through it. And then suddenly something big happens and you realize, hold on a minute, my wife could have ended up in hospital. My daughter could have ended up in hospital, all because I refused to take support. So now I've said, I'll have that support.
I've been doing a job for the past 14 months that's been helping people because they've got no food or electricity. And so I've got to the point where I think I've lost quite a lot of empathy and I've got quite, not depressed, just war weary, I think. Where we work have supplied us with a counsellor to talk to so we can offload. So I've started to speak to her.
And through all of this, I discovered that even with my limitations, I can still be productive, I can still be useful, and even to the point where it was suggested to me that I do the facilitator training, and then maybe I can give back and support other people. Words just can't describe how big, huge, enormous change for the better in my life, just through being in touch with positive people. It's been amazing.
I'm at the Jatis project at the moment. It's like a community rehab, coming off the methadone. I kind of took 20 odd years off on and off drug addiction. So yeah, just sort of kind of putting the final nail in the coffin of that really, you know what I mean? It's going really well, yeah. Yeah, they're really nice actually.
I've got a support worker, the Care for a Carer, a lovely guy, and he helps me because he looks at my life on the outside, which nobody can do. Unfortunately, I can't. I'm in it.
They like me to sing for them. So they've asked me for special songs and stuff, and then we arranged to go out and sing the old songs for them, things like that.
Sheila and I are hoping to start doing an arts and crafts group. We did it last year during the springtime, and it was so casual that we get back enjoying it, and we're going to do it again. We have a really good support system where we live. We've got a neighbour that's really kind and generous and helpful. Sheila and I helped run a tea dance group at the Catholic Church, and that was through the community builders. And we've been doing that. I've also been a caller at Brixham Does Care before, but don't be a bingo caller. It's scary.
I was in residential and was there for a while, and then I progressed and moved into my own home. And now it's about, I do things independently. I might make my own dinners, I go shopping, I do lots of things independently. And obviously, lockdown has been difficult for me and it's been difficult for everyone.
My youngest daughter, who's 10, she just got a lot of support from a family support worker. And so she only had to spend a year in mainstream school. And then she got into Mayfields quite quickly and now is doing brilliantly. Such a lovely school. It really is a nice school. It's a blessing. And my eldest son, who's 28, different circumstances, different child, obviously. But he had dealings with Exeter social services and stuff like that. And I know his dad was violent and all that, but it just seemed to be that he didn't get the same support that my kids had from down here.
I wanted to give her the absolute best possible start in life that I could. And she did have to go into foster care briefly for a few times throughout our life, but she was always returned. She was never forcibly removed, and it was just because I was too unwell. And I had a couple of stays in psychiatric units, but I always wanted to make sure every single day she knew she was loved. She's the most amazing person. She has such a fantastic outlook on life. She's so positive. She's got no body issues, hang-ups or anything.
I think I need to get not a job for money reasons. I need to just do something to, well, I can't just sit around watching telly and all that crap. I need to sort my mental health out. I'm getting support to put stuff in the past behind me, but you know.
In Torquay, there's a bridge and it lifts up when the boats go underneath. And my fear was I didn't want to go over the bridge. But the other day, I went over the bridge for the first time and conquered my fear. I just thought, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go over that bridge.
I'm doing a sponsored walk. What I'm doing is I'm starting at the Friends Centre, going to the edge, then I'm going to go down Middle Street, all the way up to the Guardhouse Cafe. I'm going to do that 5 times up and down. So I'll be doing it 10 times in total.
Everything was so quiet and you could hear the birds singing. It was so peaceful, but at the same time, I felt quite isolated. And then positive people came along and started with all these courses. So by the summer, I'd started doing them. Yeah, I've become addicted to Zoom.
And suddenly it dawned on me, I could be a carer.
I discovered that even with my limitations, I can still be productive. I can still be useful.
And then we arranged to go out and sing the old songs for them.
Words can't describe how big the huge, enormous change for the better in my life.
He helps me because he looks at my life on the outside, which not everyone can do.
I wanted to make sure every single day she knew she was loved.
And now she's doing brilliantly. It's such a lovely school. It's a blessing.
There's no such word as can't. It's always, I can do it.
We just need a few strong people to get together and say, right, this is the vision and everybody can contribute to it. A bit like what we're doing now. But somebody has to make a decision and go, right, this is what we're going to do. You know, just let's all work together for a common cause.
If I had unlimited funds, I think what I would love to give would be a huge building with lots of rooms to be used for people with complex situations. So each room would have a different purpose, because I think I've found with places that offer drop-in services, it's so limited. Like it's limited to 1 hour a week, or because the room is being used by other people at other times. It would just be so nice to have always like a block of flats with like a purpose for each place, so that you can have drop-ins all day, every day.
It's like decorating. You've got to do all the preparation and the top coat of paint is the last thing. It's just the icing on the cake. It's not the cake, and they've got to make a good cake.
And a great big rainbow on the front of the building. And maybe we'll just kick everybody out of the Imperial Hotel and take it over.
You know, if somebody says to me, here's £1 million, what are you going to do with it? Then I'll ask people what they want to do and then come up with a decision and try it. And if it doesn't work, you try something else. You don't sit there forever and go, well, I'm not sure about this or that. Maybe Joe down the road wants to contribute. Maybe Sheila over there wants to. It just seems that everything takes so long, whereas people can't wait that long sometimes.
In Torbay, you just need to do something where it doesn't cost a lot. I think it was November 2019, and I was just getting over having had a breakdown. And they had this light show that appeared. It wasn't expensive, and it was a lovely thing. And my daughter drew a picture, and her picture was on the wall of Tor Abbey. So I said to her, this is fantastic. You're taking part in something. And to me, it brought our community together.
Hang on. Actually, do you know Kath that runs PATH? And she does it off her own back, with her own money, with her own car, and runs around getting little bits of funding from the council here and there to take over the cafe or that building that's shut down. And she makes food every single day for people that haven't got very much, and she puts food parcels together. And she does it on Christmas Day, rain or shine. I would give her an endless pot of money to help her to do that, because that's what she would use it for. She wouldn't use it for herself. I'd love to give her something for herself, but I know she wouldn't take it. She's not that sort of person. Yeah, absolutely wonderful lady. Yeah, she really is.
I hope people have a better life and enjoy what they've got. You wake up and you think people out in the streets and they're sitting on a cold floor, and you just want to help them or give them love, a nice home, a nice warm place, a house or flat with loads of lovely things and coloured walls, and it would just be amazing and make it homely for them.
I'd like to see a change of attitudes in people. There are groups here who do fantastic work, but they don't seem to think, what's the result in somebody else? They're not thinking, who's this harming? I'd like to see a lot more social awareness. That would be really, really nice.
They class some areas around here as being rough. And everyone always says, well, you know, you don't want to live up there. And Queen Elizabeth Drive, funnily enough, these people who have got nothing, they're more willing to share what they haven't got, and they tend to have a stronger sense of community.
Maybe if a bit of money was put into some constructive stuff for teenagers and not just, oh, it's not working, stuff it, we won't do that anymore. Things need to be done for a length of time before they have a positive impact. Kids are shaped to be adults when they're teenagers, and just because they haven't got money to have lots of computer equipment or basketball in their garden, and you know what I mean, they still should have the support to be helped to become happy, nice people, and want something out of life rather than thinking there's fuck all for me.
They just need happiness in their life, don't they?
I think I'd like to do something supporting people in the future, you know. Sometimes it's easier to help other people if you've been through the stuff yourself, because you can have a little bit more understanding, empathy. Do you know what I mean? It's therapeutic both ways, isn't it? Because different people have had different experiences depending on what's happened to them. And it's not until you need something that you realise how lacking certain things are.
If you like, when the lockdown's over, we'd love to meet up with you for a coffee or a tea somewhere.
If something from my story or something from somebody else's story gets passed along and does something good, it's worth it, isn't it? Yeah. So much crap and horrible stuff in the world, that any good is good. We just need a few strong people to get together and say, right, this is the vision.
A huge building with lots of rooms for people with complex situations.
I'd like to see a lot more social awareness.
People who've got nothing, but they're more willing to share what they haven't got.
If you've been through stuff yourself, you're more likely to have a little bit more understanding.
And to me, it brought our community together.
Let's all just work together for the common cause.
So you've seen us and we've seen you. We're the child in the park, the man on the seafront, the young person on the bus, the woman in the street. We're the lights on Painton Pier, the red rocks of Corbin Head, the trawlers from Brixham. Our stories are woven into the fabric of the place. This is our place.